Yeah, that's cool. This way or this way or?
I'll be sitting here, so you can
Sit, look that way. Back for more. Can I just do a small hot coffee now? All right, I think that's it for today. My name's Will Van Zee. I'm a commercial sign painter. This is my sign shop, Vanzy Sign Co. We're in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn. I've been in this shop since 2018, but in this part of Brooklyn for almost 20 years now. Well, I grew up in Seattle, Washington. I originally moved to this neighborhood to go to university. I went to Pratt for industrial design. Okay, you ready?
go for it.
Boom, doo-doom, doo-doom, doo-doom. I mean, I worked as a house painter growing up. My dad would just come home from work and he would like chat with neighbors on the way home and just get me gigs painting the trim work, you know, the siding, 2 different colors of trim. So I'd do a lot of like trim work. I'd do a lot of like painting people's fences, doing stuff like that, you know? And I think that's when I really tuned into the like tight brushwork, and I kind of was comfortable doing brushwork. I was working at a bike shop, started there, honestly. I was doing like the window displays. I left my job at the bike shop when I got offered a full-time job managing a sign shop. So at that time I did a bunch of wayfinding, like directional signage, and then a lot of the commercial signage for tenants there and tenants at Chelsea Market. But I remember I told my whole family on a family trip with my now wife that I was going to quit and start my own. I had already started the company. I had like an LLC. I was like, I'm going to go fully on my own. And my dad and my uncle like pulled me aside and were like, dude, bad idea. Like, don't do this. They were pretty blunt. And I just told them I'm going to do it, man. I told them, I already made up my mind, you know? I'd already written the letter. I still don't know if he was just challenging me to go out and prove him wrong. But that's basically how I reacted, you know, was like, it put a fire under my ass to be like, let me prove to him that I can do it, you know? And I did. I think he definitely came around. He told me how proud he was of me in this company. And that's kind of that's what is the motivation now, you know, like keeps me rolling for sure. The paper signs especially is like, that's my meditation, you know? When I get to come into the shop, have my coffee, put on my tunes, and sit down and just kind of, honestly, kind of shut a part of your brain off a little bit. I get to really just have a sole focus, and it's just brush, paint, substrate, you know, just when there's no other thoughts except that focus. Like, yeah, it's really calming. I feel like that's like the closest to like really living in the now. And listen, I mean, at the same time, this shop's expensive. My life expenses outside of work are very expensive. And I think that balance of like having to work really hard to survive, I think that helps fuel the creative fire for me personally, you know? A lot of times when I'm like really hitting home runs with my own personal work, I'm slammed with client work, like totally slammed. That's when those are the best. I go through phases where I'm like so proud of the past 10 plus years and all the work. And then I'll have phases where I'll look at other people's work or things slow, or I'll lose longtime clients, and I'll just be like, well, I'll have that imposter syndrome and just questioning everything. I took a solid 2 to 3 months away from the shop from New York. I guess 3 years ago now, when my dad was at the end of his battle with cancer, back in Seattle. And obviously losing a parent is brutal, but I think I didn't know until then how important this work is for my own like mental health and well-being. I think like the act of creating is a big part of what makes me happy. So taking time away from that was bad. So I think when it's that emotional, it's the financial crunch, and all those things come together. Yeah, it was like a battle for sure, and I definitely was questioning if this was the right path still. And to be honest, I think just being super transparent with my friends and family opened up those conversations with people I really like, trust, and respect to just push me to stick to it. I think my generation was really taught like, oh, you can be anything you want to be. And I love the idea of that. But I also think big picture, you can be anything you want to be outside of your career. You know, if you have a stable, steady job that you don't hate, that's a blessing, right? If you have time in addition to that to create whatever it is, sign painting, ceramic, whatever it is, cherish that, right? Like that's awesome. That is probably more valuable than flipping it on its head and making that your job, you know? If we can kind of like tune out of that and just make stuff for ourselves, do things that make you happy, maybe people would be a lot happier, you know? Holding on to those kind of like childlike ways of just like, oh, well, let me just do it my way and just make something for the sake of making something, like that's really valuable, you know? Honestly, I'm just kind of a simple working class artist, you know? Most important part of my day, honestly, before I even come into the shop, is going to the Fort Greene Park with my wife and my dog every day, you know? Running my dog, drinking coffee, thinking about our plans, you know? Like, that's the best part of my day. That's my base for every day, is like, go for a walk in the park, rain or shine, let my dog run her heart out, figure out my wife and I's life plans, and go to work, you know?